it's William Christopher Ford. I am here in the U.S. Virgin Islands on the island of St. Thomas, obviously inappropriately dressed, but I'm headed over to Shihan Jerry Otto Shen Dragon Dojo for some good karate training. And that being said, let's get to training. I am 51 years old. I've been a practitioner of Okinawan Shorin Ryu karate since I was 7. There was some who would call me a master. I assure you, I am not. I believe that the true expert is someone who still has a student's heart and a beginner's mind. This year, to celebrate turning 52, I'm setting out to learn from 52 other disciplines, each from its own master. Some things I've tried before, others I'm a first-day beginner, like anyone else. 52 weeks, 52 new skills. I'm William Christopher Ford, and this is 52 Masters.
Hold your position. This position. Knee strike to the groin. Hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up. Target. Elbow strike, knee strike, put it down, slap. We're going to go use one technique at a time to build the first set. We will then put that set together. Step forward stance. Front snap kick. Reverse punch right hand. Overhead strike left hand. Demonstrate. First set. Second set. I want you to experience each technique as you perform in kata. I'm going to have focus and I'll have targeting, but I won't have intention in the first technique. So go, hey. What did I just do? I threw. There's no intention in that. No intention. In basics, you're going to throw the full technique. And most of you think that the target is here at the end. It's not. The target is here. You're always punching into the target. You have to have the intention to be able to hurt with that technique, if you so desire. So when I do the technique with intention, hey, watch this. That's my intention. I can drive my hand into his body another 6 inches. Turn it on. Hey. The cat stance is not a fighting stance. It's a transitional stance. So as I'm moving out of the way of this to be able to step through, and then I'm gonna move back in. But there are other things that we can do off that same movement. Yes! Yes! Good, good. All right, one more time. These are the dynamics of what we're trying to do to upload into our unconscious mind so that we will react unconsciously where we are reacting in a very disciplined, lethal, martial artist manner. It doesn't matter what style. I don't care if it's Kung Fu, Gung Fu, Tai Chi, I don't care what it is. The end result is what we're all trying to achieve. How we get to that path, the different paths, that's who we want to be. Right there. Yes, sir. And by the way, a style is only as good as the practitioner.
비난 요란! 자신신! 너 senpai! 비난이란! Nice!
I want to thank Shihan Otto for inviting me out here, hosting. It's just an honor to be here. What a pleasure, and thank you so much. So,
It's my honor.
thank you. I thought you all were wonderful. I loved the intensity, the commitment, and I'm not just talking about a commitment to your sensei or to your art, but to yourselves. And just showing up is really a lot of the thing. It's we don't always want to go to the dojo or do what we need to do, but once you get here and you do the work, I don't know about you, but me, I'm always glad that I did it. So I see that. I like to call myself, because I truly am a student of the martial arts. I'm not a grandmaster. Sensei is a fine title for me, but I'm a student just like you guys are, and I learned a lot today. Thank you guys. You guys were very patient with me, with working with me on some of the complexes, because they were kind of complex for me, but some of them looked familiar. I'm not sure if Shihan told you, but I trained with Sensei Yamashita for many, many, many years. I got my black belt under him, and I haven't trained with him since about 2009, but he used to slap me around too, so we got some more stories. But I strongly urge everybody to find the joy in the training. Discipline is important, but if you can find a way to love what you do, no matter what, it will help your longevity. But just keep showing up, and I like to be of service. I want to be of service to the community, and I can clearly see Shihan is. I can clearly see the intent, not only the intensity, but I like to think of it as passion and great love not only for his art and his family, but for all of you guys as well. So I saw some excellent stuff today. And the last thing is, you know, you might have days where you come in and you don't do so good. You can't get the kata down, you forget, you might get scolded. You know, the obstacle is the way. So if you can find a way to get over that obstacle, and usually the obstacle is not something on the outside, it's something that is usually you. You know, I did come away learning quite a bit. So thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so we are back. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Excellent time being here. Beautiful dojo, too. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I enjoyed your students, just wonderful students, and everybody here has been just so warm and respectful, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. So thank you so very much, Shihan.
We're more than honored to have you. Unexpected pleasure, actually. Phenomenal. Thank you.
Well, I tell you, it's been you know, we've been on the island here for almost a week, and you know, we've gotten to see some cool things, and I'm just so impressed. This is actually my first time here in the Caribbean, first time, of course, on St. Thomas, and I'm just so impressed by the diversity and the warmth and the deep cultural aspects of this trip here. And you know, I'm hoping to come back again and perhaps, you know, interview some other masters. But this is a great way to start, and I'm so honored to be here, sir. So
thank you.
Thank you again for
thank you very
helping
much.
make this happen. So, how long has the Shen Dragon Dojo actually been open? This is a beautiful dojo, and according to you, this is the only open dojo on the island right now. Correct?
It is. But first, I just want to mention that the Shen Dragon was founded in 1981 in Phillipsburg, New Jersey.
Okay.
And then in the early 90s, we had a dojo in St. Croix for about 10 years.
Okay.
And then this dojo we opened on December 18th, 2022. Oh. No, I'm sorry, 2018. Maybe I cut that, I don't know.
Okay. Interesting timing on that, you know.
Yeah.
2018, right before the world kind of changed.
Yeah, it was. It was a good time after the storm. Of course, the Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Maria destroyed 90% of the island, and so that's one of the reasons that we're the only school, because the buildings were destroyed and they never recovered.
Gotcha.
And we're fortunate to be in this location and to have the following.
Yes.
And the clients. And
now, you were talking to me earlier about your first early experiences. You know, you were you're born in Baltimore, Maryland, and you moved to Taiwan for a little while after your mother remarried, right? And that was kind of your first experience with martial arts, because you would see Chinese martial arts being done, correct?
I did. It was an amazing, you know, I used to watch over the bush, so to speak, and watch the military soldiers training, and you know, they saw me, and you know, I was a kid, and they invited me in, and I was doing martial art movements. I had no clue what I was doing, but it was so moving that I think that was psychologically, it impacted me that I needed to do this. And when the opportunity came up, we moved back to the States. Then in the early 70s, I began formally training in Taekwondo.
Okay.
And then after about a year, it was in the Shorin Ryu system under Liu Kasamasa system, the Red Dragon system.
Okay.
And then we founded the school in 1981, and then onward and upward. You know, it's been. We've created a legacy of martial artists, and we are a family from the beginning, and even now, 3 generations later, we still have, we're ongoing. The students are continuing to grow and they compete, and they're just phenomenal.
And your son Brian is also one of your instructors.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was at the beginning of the Shen Dragon. He was about 10 years old. He was dojo rat. You know, and in the day through his teens, he was a very formidable competitor on the circuit. You know, the George Dillman circuit. You know, back in the New Jersey area, and he's been in the martial arts a long time.
He's got a very happy energy about him. He's almost like
I don't know. He's always been this Zen-like kid.
Yeah.
You always think a cool cat floating over the jagged edges of the world. You know, and he loves children, and it's just an asset to the school, because the children are our future.
Yes.
And you have to have the love to teach children in order to communicate with them. And martial arts is the medium to help them grow and develop their belief systems.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I liked him very much. He's very friendly when I met him, as you know, as all your students were. And your wife, Sensei Celine, when you met her, she was not a martial artist. Is that correct?
We've been married going on 26 years now.
Okay.
And for the first 20 years, she just wasn't interested. And you know, her husband is a martial artist and a former national karate champion, and so she was teaching at the local Antilles campus school, which is a preparatory school.
Okay.
And we decided to start an after-school program. And fast forwarding, she's a second-degree black belt, and she is the head of our kids program here. Ranked from last year's competition, ranked second in the women's division and NASCA of the 50-year-old women, second in forms and third in weapons.
Gotcha.
So she's our mama dragon. And you know what happens is that, you know, as an adult male, if I'm talking to a child and I want to say something and really get my point across, they may go, you know, they start to cry. When she steps up and does the same thing, they say, okay. You know, it's just an incredible difference, and so she becomes such a core part of the success of the school.
I get you.
You know, and I think you can see that. You can see that in the children that you've seen compete, and she's part of all that.
Yeah. She definitely has a very nurturing mother, feminine energy, but I can clearly see the core of strength that she has, you know, and being the backbone of so many things. And I'm sure not only on the floor, but behind the scenes on, you know, as I know, what it takes to run a dojo successfully, you know. And I would say particularly in this region of the world where 5-6 months out of the year, maybe there might be a tropical storm or a hurricane, and it's like, you know, we don't know. So it's kind of like you kind of have to play it day by day. But definitely, you know, because you guys go through the storm on a yearly basis, you know, it kind of, you know, okay, we deal with this. This is just something you deal with.
And we did. During the pandemic, for example, we were shut down. The non-essential businesses had to shut down. And we were considered originally as a non-essential business.
Okay.
So we started Zoom the week after. We connected to the computer. So I would think that maybe 60% of the students participated in Zoom. And then it was interesting because they lifted the quarantine, so to speak, and then some of them started coming back in, and then they reinstituted it again because the pandemic was up and down. And during that period of time, the core students, the kids that really loved what they were doing, stayed with us. And when they came back in, they were the impetus for the other kids to come back in.
Gotcha.
And we started growing and growing again. So it was, but the continuity of that, and Celine was a major part of the teaching because she is their teacher. And so when they see her on the screen, it's like, I better listen to her, you know. You know?
I want to talk about somebody that we have in common, Master Tadashi Yamashita. Now, I first started training under a man named, first Glenn Rabago, and then after that, his brother Richard Rabago took over the dojo that I was training at when I was 7 years old. And Sensei Richard Rabago was my primary instructor for much of my training, and his instructor was Master Tadashi Yamashita. And then I eventually started training under Master Yamashita, and you know, I probably had, if you count all the time, maybe 10 years personal training with him, where I would actually be in his garage or in his house. And the experience was invaluable in terms of, you know, martial technique and things like that. And it was just little things, little adjustments that, you know, what I got most out of my training with him was the attention to detail, and also like the idea of expansion and retraction. So, you know, he, you know, rather than do a sort of a shuto block where it's like that, he does this thing where he kind of goes out and back, and he relaxes, you know, it's like that. And I was like, and so that's how I learned how to learn to be explosive with movements like kusanku sho, where it's like this, and he'd go like that, and pinan shodan, where instead of doing it like this, nothing wrong with that, but he's like, no, do it like this, expansion, retraction. And that to me was the most valuable thing I got out of my training with him. But how did you meet him, and tell me a little bit about your experience with him?
I was competing. I was a national champion, and I was competing in the Washington, D.C. region. In between the national tournaments, we would do regionals just to stay in tune. And through Grandmaster Eberhard Welsh, who's now passed away, you know, he's like my brother. He trained under Grandmaster Nagasawa.
Okay.
And so through that connection, he introduced me to Grandmaster Tadashi Yamashita.
Okay.
And it actually took me about 1.5 years to convince him, because I really wanted to train under him. He was like the guy that, and it wasn't, I mean, I know that he was very famous, you know, and he was in the Octagon and the American Ninja, but that didn't impress me as much as what I saw him do. And as you just explained, and I saw the movements that were not typical of other martial arts systems. Like a lot of the systems, they do a chest block. It's just like here, like this. But what he did, as you said, he'll come up and he'll roll it, roll it, and roll it. And so the rolling activity to me, I was impressed by that, to try to understand the dynamic and tension. And so what I've discovered that you can generate more power in a shorter distance by doing that snap.
Oh, just like that.
Oh, just like that. So
well, there you go.
So the rolling, being able to come inside the punch and to block, and you have your primary, secondary, so you're diverting it slightly, but you're controlling by moving up inside, and the generation of that energy and power against the bone is phenomenal. And we work this all the time in here because I think it's one of the most phenomenal parts of the Shorin Ryu system, and you know, it can be bone breaking. It's just a phenomenal concept, so that was what intrigued me.
Got it.
And you see that in any of his training tapes that he has, and when you work with him in person, you feel it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. You've been his uke, I've been his uke, you know. I mean, I haven't trained with him since maybe 2009, but still have the highest respect for him in terms of his martial arts ability. Truly one of the greats, you know, and lessons I learned from him that, you know, I'll carry with me till I'm gone.
Yeah, essentially. It's to me in the system, it's part of the core of the system in terms of the blocking and what he shows and that dynamic that he demonstrated. And I think that martial artists, even black belts, when they're coming up through the Shodan, Nidan, Sandan, they don't quite get it, but it takes years and years and years to understand the dynamic of that. And I mean, when you did this, it was just like perfect. It was like watching Grandmaster Tadashi Yamashita, you know, in the way that he moved his arms, and it was so. And that to me is what I teach my students, because I think that it's important to maintain the essence, the core and the essence of the Shorin Ryu system, and I think that's what that is. You know.
Amazing. And one of the things that is, I think, fairly obvious about you, you know, but I really noticed it, is that, you know, you have so much passion. You have so much passion for life, passion for martial arts, passion for teaching, and you also have a lot of compassion. You have a lot of love, and I can clearly see that in how you work with your students. And some of the stories you told me about, Giovanni, you know, and, you know, him being such an introverted child, you know, but being sponsored through your nonprofit and being able to, you know, basically have his 3 months paid for through your nonprofit, and seeing the transformation of him to being so shy and so unable to even look people in the eye, to becoming, you can see he's becoming a really fine young man and a fine martial artist. And not just him, you know, I can see that with, you know, some of your other kids as well, you know, with Layla and with Jaher and Eli and Shine. And what's Shine's brother's name?
Jewel.
Jewel. Yeah. I mean, and there's so many others. You know, there's so many that, you know, I can't include everybody's name right here, but those are the ones that I know I have had a lot of personal contact with. You know, and so, you know, I'm just really impressed by that. You know, I can tell you just care so much. You know, and you get excited and you're passionate, and I'm just like, wow, Shihan's really, really, because, you know, your face gets flushed and you are pacing around, and it's almost like you can't contain yourself because of the love that you have. You know, and that really impressed me.
Thank you. It's the love of life, love of martial arts. You know, if you were to go into my mind and see where I live, it's here. 24/7, no matter what I do. And it is my life.
Gotcha.
And my passion. Sometimes you can't put these things in words.
I'd like to go back to your childhood.
a little bit. You mentioned that, and it kind of intrigued me. You lived in the projects.
My father was a World War II vet.
Okay.
Came out of the war. I was born in 1950. So, and he had poor health choices. Couldn't hold a job. We ended up in public housing in Dundalk, Maryland. So during that period of time, the athletic programs were very important to me, and the love of my great-grandparents and grandparents and aunts and uncles who brought every Friday bags of groceries. And that's how we lived. We were on food stamps.
Okay.
I shined shoes when I was 11 years old in bars to make 10 cents.
Wow.
And so having lived that life and moving forward, my stepfather wasn't very kind to me. He was only 12 years older than me, so it really wasn't a dad image and things, so that was difficult. So when I was in my early 20s, and the whole concept started manifesting of what had happened to me in my previous life. And so I found enjoyment in teaching children in the school that I was in. You know, I started teaching when I was a green belt, right? And built the class. But as time goes on, now I'm here in the Virgin Islands. I have a very diverse community.
Yes.
Right? And it's become my passion to give back to these children who, some of them had the same upbringing that I had, to understand that they have a choice, they have opportunity, and they have to just believe in themselves. Confidence, self-respect, respect towards others. And to me, that's the passion, I think what martial arts brings to us, to the people, to the world, and the love for people. And that people loved me, and it's part of my belief system to do that, and I cannot live any other way. You know, we have 94% Black Hispanic, we have Chinese, we have Islam, we have Hindu, and they're all here at my dojo, and we're one family, and we're all connected universally, subatomically, and so with understanding those dynamics, I think that even more than verbalizing, when you're teaching, it's that energy exchange, and they feel what's coming. They feel the love and the understanding, and the parents see it. That's why the school has been so successful. Because it's not just about karate and the punch and the kick. It's about the love and developing their belief system, and themselves. And you can see the results of that through Giovanni, Alana, Layla, and that to me is everything in life. You know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I truly believe that my greatest teachers are my students, and I can see that is true here as well. You know, some of the greatest lessons we learn as teachers are from our students, particularly the kids. You know, and sometimes that lesson may just be to be more patient, or be present. You know? I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll come in to my dojo and it's like, well, I'm not necessarily feeling it, but you know what? We are not allowed to bring our bad day. You know, not that I have bad days, but I mean, some days are better than others. But I know we don't bring our bad mood, our bad day, our into the, that just got nothing to do. Once we step on the dojo, we leave that outside. But I also find that my mood is oftentimes lightened, and I feel happier. It's like after I'm done with the kids, because they say some funny things, and just also, the pride that you have as as an instructor, and seeing somebody who couldn't do something before all of a sudden get it. They turn that corner, and it might just be a little bit of a minute adjustment, and all of a sudden they're popping their round kick and they're chambering it back, and you're just going, and then they do that continually from there on out, and they've actually learned the technique.
We take them beyond their own expectations, don't we?
Yeah.
And they'll come in, and when you teach them that spinning back kick, and they finally hit Bob in the face, and they go like, I did that? I said, yes, you did.
Right.
Let's do it again.
Right.
And they do it again. And so constantly they're growing physically and mentally and emotionally, spiritually through this whole process.
You're 72 years old. That is amazing to me. I mean, you're just passionate, but you're so vigorous, and you're still powerful, you know. And while we were training, I was just like, man, I don't want to get hit by Shihan because you can still take care of business. But you also have excellent control, which is what they teach in martial arts. So they're not only physical control, but self-discipline and everything. Do you think that because of karate, I mean, obviously it changed the course of your life, but some people say that martial arts saved their life. But I believe that yes, martial arts can save people's lives, if not your students, sometimes the instructor themselves, because there are stories of people who, had they not learned martial arts, they would have gone in a totally different direction.
We all have ups and downs.
Yeah.
Our life isn't peaches and cream and roses, and you have some bad times. And I went through, in the late 80s, I went through a bankruptcy. And it was difficult.
Yeah.
But the core of who I am and the self-belief, I kept me together during very, very difficult times.
Yeah.
And I attribute that to my martial arts. And I teach that concept. I tell my students the same thing.
Yeah.
If you have a bad time, it's just then. It's not who you are, it's where you are at that moment in time. And it's going to move and it's going to change. Yeah. So have faith in yourself, have confidence that you can pull out of that.
Yeah.
And if it's my student, and I tell, if you have a difficult time, knock on the door, come and speak to me. I speak to no one else about it. And I help them through their difficulties. This happens a lot of times. So we become a psychologist, and a mentor, and all these things that we become as a martial art teacher. And as long as we channel that positively back to the student with love and compassion, we make them whole. And my goal is to make every one of my students better than what I've achieved for myself. And that to me is one of the most important aspects of being a martial art instructor. Yeah.
So we come to the question that I always ask, and I think that all of my viewers expect. They always want to say, okay, when's he going to ask the question?
Sorry.
So I have to ask. Let's pretend this is your last day on earth, and you get to teach a class. All your students show up. And you want to make sure that there's so many things that you want to be able to teach them, but you say, listen, guys, remember things I've taught you, but remember this, no matter what. Take this with you, And that will be like the top lesson that Shihan Jerry Otto imparted. What would that be?
I would first tell them to make sure that they practice good health habits so they can live to be over 100, because it takes 3 lifetimes to really perfect martial arts. And so I want them to be able to train and study and develop for that whole lifetime. And that to me would be important for them to stay in the art, keep the legacy of the Shen Dragon alive, and they're my students, which it has been since the 80s, and just to be passionate, be giving, mentor these young students that come in who don't have confidence. It would be a lesson in compassion and life and giving. That's what I would want my students to do. That would be my lesson to them and my final words to them. Please do that for these kids.
It's powerful. I want to thank you for your hospitality,
Thank you.
for inviting me here into your home, allowing me to train with you, allowing me to hang out with you.
Yeah.
You've been extremely generous with your time and sharing your experience and introducing me to your wonderful family as well. And I'm looking forward to my next trip out here and
I can't wait.
Getting to know you guys a little bit more and training some more, learning some more, and just sharing the time. So. And thank you once again,
Your family.
I appreciate that. I really do. So once again, this is 52 Masters with William Christopher Ford and my good friend, Shihan Jerry Otto, and we'll see you next time.